There's a version of you that another person can carry for years without ever having the full truth. They defend it. They grow love for it. They build a whole life around it. Then, one day, in a single conversation, a key truth comes out, and everything they thought they knew can shift dramatically. Today, today we're giving a voice to the person who never got to know the full truth. Not the person, for lack of better words, still in the closet, scared, trying to figure themselves out, just not yet able to say out loud what they want. But the one who was chosen every single day by someone carrying a secret they hadn't shared. The person who was standing right there, loving somebody through a mirage they couldn't see, and paying for it every single day. That that person deserves a seat at this table. And for some reason, every time this conversation comes up, that person barely gets 3 sentences in before someone cuts in with, "Ah, but you but you have to understand how hard it was for them." I'm Kay. This is open secret. Everybody sees it. Nobody's saying it. Until now. Today we're talking about what happens to the person who built their entire reality around a missing piece. Not the cost to the person keeping the secret. The cost to the person who was never informed of it in the first place. The confusion, the self-doubt, the years of trying to solve a problem you never created. And if you are the person who stayed silent, I need you to stay in your seat. Because this episode is not about tearing you apart. It's about making sure that for once, the full picture is on the table. The courage it took to finally tell the truth. And the damage the silence did before the truth ever arrived. Both are real. Both matter. And only one of them has been getting the microphone. Until now. Silence doesn't always mean it's quiet. You ever notice that? Silence still says something. Anybody who's ever been on the receiving end of it knows exactly what I mean. When there's a disconnect you cannot name, you don't sit in neutral. Your brain rushes to fill that silence with whatever explanation is closest. And when there is no external explanation, that explanation is often yourself. You start wondering if you're attractive enough, desirable enough, patient enough. You start running through everything you might be doing wrong. Because something is clearly wrong and, well, nobody's telling you what it is. So, you assume it's you. You almost always assume it's you. You're not imagining the distance. The distance is real. You're just being handed zero information to explain it. So, your brain does what brains do. It finds the closest target and it starts firing. How long do you think it takes before someone stops trusting their own instincts? At what point does the confusion take over and everything starts feeling like a twisted wonderland? No longer do you know you're up from your down, right from your left. Think about what it actually feels like to live inside that. Trying to solve a problem with half the pieces missing? Every time you ask, you just get handed a formal reassurance that doesn't match the energy in the room. Your brain desperately tries to make sense of a gap that shouldn't even exist. You try every other explanation. Are they just tired? Stressed from work? Depressed? Too often you end up right back at, or is it me? Am I not enough? Am I too much? Do you honestly know how much of someone's actual personality changes while they're trying to figure out something they were never given the information for? You start shrinking. You get quieter, more careful. You start adjusting your own boundaries. You change almost everything about yourself trying to be exactly what they need, hoping that if you just get it right, the distance won't be there anymore. But the distance was never something you could fix. It's a secret. That's the whole problem. And that's exactly what living inside a mirage long enough feels like. You keep listening for the truth in what somebody says when the actual evidence has been right in front of you the whole time. If words and actions don't match, which one is actually lying to you? Words don't cost you a damn thing. You can say whatever the fuck you want and walk away. Actions cost something. Actions require you to actually do something, expend the energy, make the choice. If someone tells you they love you while repeatedly choosing shit that hurts you, which one is the actual message? Most of us know it's the behavior, right? So why do so many of us overlook that whenever it comes to love? Love becomes the one place where we treat words like solid, factual evidence and actions like they don't even count. That's part of the trap right there. They want you to keep validating their words while you're the one taking the hit from their actions. When somebody demands you trust their intentions and completely ignores the impact those intentions are having, they're not asking for your trust. They're asking you to stop noticing what's actually happening. And you can only do that for so long. Eventually, you hit a point where you can't keep ignoring the gap. So you finally confront them about it. And they still look you dead in the face and demand, not even ask, demand you go off what they're saying. I'm telling you I love you. I'm telling you I want you. I'm telling you there's nothing wrong. Until you reach the breaking point and have to look at them and say, I can't. I cannot go off what you're saying anymore. What you do carries more weight than what comes out of your mouth. And what you're choosing to do is the exact opposite of the words you're giving me. I can't stay blind to that or keep making excuses for it. But even then, even after that, a lot of people still get stuck in the same loop. If they keep saying nothing's wrong, at what point is somebody allowed to stop believing them? 3 days? 3 months? 3 years? When exactly does someone become the bad guy for believing the actions someone intentionally chose to do? And how many times can somebody honestly try harder before they're not trying to fix the relationship anymore? They're trying to fix themselves and using you to do it. That last part is what sits with me. Because if you're the one constantly adjusting, shrinking, and trying to solve a problem you were never given the real information for, then logically, you were never really given a full say in the first place. Not just about sex, about the whole thing. I'm talking about consent. Yes, I said consent. In the context of a relationship. The idea that so many people think consent is only about sex is fucking asinine. Consent is not just about what happens in a bedroom. It's about whether both people know what they're agreeing to. I don't want to hear, this is private. Private from who? Me? The person out here building a whole fucking life around it? If one person is walking around with the knowledge of a hidden fault line from a fundamental truth they haven't shared, while the other person is walking around the ground like it's stable and safe, while making life decisions based on incomplete information, somebody, please, somebody tell me how that's fully consensual. And I will wait. If I don't know everything that I'm agreeing to, then what the hell did I actually consent to? Was it the relationship? Or was it just my side of it? Before some of you take this and run straight off a cliff with it, I am not saying every private thought, every internal struggle somebody has invalidates a relationship. Nobody owes someone a play-by-play of every single thing that crosses your mind. That's not what I'm talking about. If that's what you heard, go back and listen again. The question is a lot narrower than that. Did they know something fundamental, something that would have changed your choices if you'd had it, and instead decided for you that you knowing wasn't critical information you were privy to? Not, did they keep a private thought to themselves, but did they keep a fact that was fundamental to the whole goddamn life y'all were supposedly building? Because the person who doesn't know isn't just sitting there doing nothing. They're investing. They're planning. They're making choices about their time, their energy, their whole heart, based on a picture that's got a piece missing, a piece the other person is intentionally holding on to. Every compromise you made, every vacation booked, every apartment leased, every anniversary celebrated, every argument where you apologize for being too sensitive, every I'll wait, every sacrifice, every part of the future you imagined. Every single one of those choices got made with missing information. People love to say, I didn't lie. I just left something out. That's not a lie. Okay. All right. Let's look at that. There are things you leave out that don't matter. Like taking a shit that was completely messy, or running out of toilet paper and having to waddle your ass to the shower. Your partner probably doesn't need to know those details. I sure as fuck wouldn't tell mine. Okay, I might, but either way, you know. But almost everything else, you should want to and be able to tell your partner what happened if the moment calls for it. What most people do is leave something important out and then say, I was honest. I didn't lie. They treat that as the loophole for honesty. But honesty in a relationship isn't just about not saying something false. Honesty means transparency. If you're choosing not to say something that matters, then you're not being honest. Even if every word that came out of your mouth was technically true, the fact that you omitted a detail that was part of what you were saying is just a quieter way of doing the same job a lie does. And it lets you sleep at night because you never had to actually say the omitted words out loud. The line is simple, guys. Are you shaping how you say something? Or are you erasing what you say entirely? Shaping it with care, that's kindness. Erasing it so the other person never gets the full picture? That's the secret. Those are not the same behaviors wearing different outfits. One protects a person, and the other protects you. You don't owe anybody every detail of your life. Nobody's entitled to your thoughts, and nobody gets to demand complete access to you. But if you're asking me what actually makes a relationship work, I don't think two people in a relationship should be living with separate knowledge on any level, ever. You should be able to tell each other everything. More than that, you should want to. If there's something you constantly feel like you have to edit, hide, or keep on the side, that's a massive fucking red flag. Not to mention, that's usually how distance starts growing. Now, you're allowed to do that. That's your choice. But every choice has consequences. The less you share, the more friction you create. The more open and transparent you are, the stronger the relationship becomes. So keep your privacy if that's what you want. Just don't be surprised if the walls you built for protection become the same walls that keep real intimacy out. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. Radical honesty starts with yourself. A lot of secrecy doesn't even start with deceiving a partner. It starts as deceiving yourself first. You tell yourself a story about who you are, what you're allowed to want, what you're allowed to admit. And by the time it reaches another person, you've already rehearsed the lie 1,000 times in your head. You're an adult. Being honest should not be the exception. It should not be the thing you work yourself up to do twice a year. When the guilt gets too loud. It should be the baseline, the standard, the thing you default to before you even think about it. Imagine a world where people just told each other the truth. Kindly, but fully. Where I'm not happy gets said in month 2 instead of year 4. Where this isn't working for me comes out as a sentence instead of a slow disappearance. How much pain would that erase? How many years would people get back? That is not a world of brutal honesty. That's a world of honest adults. And honestly, we are so far from it that when somebody actually tells the truth, it's treated like an act of bravery instead of the bare minimum it should be. Whether you decided to move for them, to have a kid with them, whether to combine your money with theirs, or give up an opportunity because you thought you were building something permanent. None of those are small decisions. So was that actually the life you created? Or was it a life you were carrying out on somebody else's terms without knowing it? Now, I don't think most people holding a secret set out to control somebody. I don't think they wake up thinking, boy, I'm going to decide this person's reality for them. No. But does it really matter what they meant to do? The second you know something that would change what your partner chooses, and you choose for them not to have it, you've made the decision for them either way. Why on earth do people even stay silent? Because not every silence comes from the same place. Some people are genuinely trapped. If telling the truth means somebody might literally kill you, then yeah, survival comes first. That's the only real exception. Losing your house, your kids, your stability, your financial security, or hell, your current life. That's not the same as losing your life. Those are heavy consequences, no doubt. But they don't give you a permanent pass to let somebody else destroy themselves in the dark. So when someone says they stayed silent because they were afraid, the first question we're sitting with is, afraid of what? Afraid for your safety? That's real. That matters. Full stop. Afraid of blowing up a life you weren't ready to leave? Afraid of what it would require of you to finally be honest? That's a different thing. There's a difference between fear that protects you and fear that protects your comfort while costing someone else their peace of mind. One of those fears has consequences that belong entirely to you. The other one gets shared, whether the other person knows it or not. I know what that feels like. Nothing ever touched my sense of self. Well, until this almost did. I've survived the streets in California, survived getting wrapped up in an almost murder that almost got me killed and sent to prison. I survived losing the rights to my kids. I survived coming back home to Iowa, where the first time in my life I stood on my own 2 feet and built something from nothing. Through every single one of those moments that should have finished me, I never lost myself. My sense of self stayed fully intact. Nothing touched it until this almost did. I met someone who felt like everything. We were a powerhouse, although honestly, probably better as friends than anything else, but what we had was real. And it felt right. Even now, I still love and miss my best friend. Even when something felt off that first year, I didn't push it because everything else was just that good. Then I found out the truth, and I didn't leave. I stayed 3 more years. Showed up, held space, said, I see you. Figure it out. I'm not going anywhere. Gave him every opportunity to just be honest. And he kept choosing silence anyway because he was never confused like he portrayed. So, I did what you do when something keeps slipping through your fingers. I tried to make sense of something that was never going to make sense. Because the one person with the answers kept choosing themselves over my peace. I repeatedly asked myself, why do I keep trying to solve it? I even asked myself, why don't I just leave? And then right back to, why do I keep trying to solve it instead of just believing the evidence I already have sitting right in front of my face? When something doesn't make sense, what's your first instinct? To assume the world just stopped making sense? Or to assume you misunderstood something? Most of us pick the second one. Every time. Why? Because we expect things to add up. When they don't, your brain doesn't reach for, someone is lying to me. It reaches for, I must be missing something. So you go looking for the missing thing. You ask more questions. You watch closer. You give more benefit of the doubt. Not because you're stupid, because you're trying to make sense of a situation that secretly cannot be made to make sense, because the piece you're missing isn't something you overlooked. It's something somebody is holding on purpose. That's exactly why this works on people. It doesn't just fool you once, it gets your own mind working against you every single day for as long as the truth stays hidden. People love asking, why didn't you just leave? Or, well, why didn't you figure it out sooner? Oh, gee, why didn't I just think of that? Thanks, Captain. Shut the fuck up. Like the answer's obvious. Like you were just choosing not to see it. But you weren't choosing shit. Your mind was doing exactly what a healthy mind is supposed to do. It was trying to make sense of things, using every piece it actually had access to. The only thing that was ever wrong with the picture wasn't you. It was that somebody was standing right next to you, holding the one piece that would have made the whole thing make sense, saying, "Look at this amazing puzzle we built together, with every piece perfectly in its place. Isn't it so grand?" So no, it's not that you couldn't figure it out sooner. It's that you were never given a fair shot at figuring it out at all. I got so deep into trying to figure it out in those 3 years that at some point, my AI, Claude, literally told me, "You know the answers. I don't think we should keep talking about this anymore." Let that sink in. This isn't a friend who finally got tired of hearing it. This isn't a family member with their own opinions and their own feelings getting in the way. This is something that's built to do whatever you ask, within reason. Something that's supposed to just mirror you back, absorb whatever you give it, and hand you supportive information in return. Doesn't have beliefs, doesn't get annoyed. It's not supposed to push back. Yet, I talked about one man and what his silence did to me so many times that an AI tapped out on me. That's what a mirage does when you live inside it long enough. It doesn't just hurt you, it consumes you. It can take the most solid, most whole version of yourself and pick it apart, piece by piece, until you don't even recognize what's left. When the truth finally arrives, everybody expects you to just move on. But what does rebuilding even look like when you don't know what was real to begin with? And what most people don't realize is this isn't one wound. It's 4 different things happening at once, stacked right on top of each other. And most people only ever show up for the first one. You weren't told. That's the one everybody sees. That's the one that's easy to say out loud at a dinner table. Somebody had information and you didn't get it. Simple, sympathetic. But underneath that, quietly, for months, sometimes years before anybody ever found out, there was a secret at all. You questioned yourself. You filled the gap with self-doubt because self-doubt was the only explanation actually available to you. You went looking for what was wrong with you to explain a wrongness that was never yours to begin with. It starts healing on a completely different day than the first one does, because it started way before the first one was ever even discovered. Then, there's the one people skip past the fastest, because there's no one single moment you can point to. You lost your ability to choose, and you don't get those years back. And then, the one almost nobody warns you about. You can't trust your own memories anymore. This one shows up last and it lingers the longest. Because it doesn't attach to them, it attaches to you. How can something be completely real yesterday and completely fake today just because one piece of information changed? Were they actually happy on that trip? Did they mean it when they said they wanted me? Which conversations were genuine? Your own past starts feeling unreal. When every single memory comes with a question mark hanging off of it, it doesn't just break your heart. It makes your own history unreliable. And you're the one who has to keep living inside of it. 4 wounds. 4 different timelines. And most people, when they hear a story like this, only ever offer sympathy for the first one. Because it's the easiest one to say out loud. Nobody shows up for the 4th one. You mostly have to sit with that one by yourself. That is not a rough patch. That is not something you just get over. That is what it can cost you to be the one who didn't know. The person who kept the truth gets to step out of the lie and rebuild their life from actual reality. The person left behind has to rebuild from a reality that never even existed. How do you mourn a relationship when you're no longer sure it was even real? How do you trust your own instincts again when your instincts got overridden for years? And somewhere in there, a belief usually shows up that's just as dangerous as the secret itself. I didn't know. So I can never trust myself again. Hold on. Wait a second. You didn't even know something was wrong, and now you're the one punishing yourself for it? Do you understand how fucked that actually is? That's a different kind of grief than people expect. When someone dies, you grieve the person you had. When somebody reveals a hidden reality, sometimes what you're grieving is the person you thought you had, not the person at all. You don't just lose them, you lose the years you spent building a relationship with somebody who wasn't fully honest with you the entire time. So when I say both things can be true, when I say your journey was real and your fear was real, I mean it. And when I say that your breakthrough and my breakdown happened at the same time, and only one of us got flowers for it, I mean that too. That is not me being bitter. That is just me being honest, which is all I've ever asked anybody to be. And this goes for all of it. Every kind of lie. Every kind of secret someone chose to hold on to while the person next to them kept showing up, not knowing what they were really walking into. The category does not change the cost. And if the truth would have ended the relationship on day 1, then what exactly was being protected all those years? The relationship? Or just the appearance of one? Where do lies actually start? Do they start the moment you deceive somebody else? Or do they start earlier than that? The moment you convince yourself that something isn't true. Because most people don't wake up one morning and decide to become a liar. They talk themselves out of a truth first. Quietly. Alone. 100 small times until lying to somebody else barely even registers as a decision anymore. That's why radical honesty has to start with yourself. You cannot be honest with somebody else if you're lying to your own reflection every single day. Now, to the person who was left, nothing in life is simple. Nothing. And here's the sad, stark reality. You will never fully know anybody. The only person who ever really knows all of who someone is themselves. And honestly, even that depends on how honest they're willing to be with themselves. You will never have a guarantee. Life isn't fair. People aren't always honest. And no matter how much you love somebody, that truth doesn't change. That is exactly why loving yourself, not when things are good, not when somebody makes you feel worthy of it, but always, no matter what, is the most important thing you will ever do. I can't tell you how to make the hurt go away. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I still have to tell myself every day that it wasn't my fault, that I wasn't the cause of it. I have a pretty solid sense of self, and I still have days where I have to fight to not take it internally. But at the end of the day, I know I'm a good person. I loved with everything I had. It wasn't my fault. There was nothing more I could do. The problem existed long before I came into the picture. Honestly, most problems do. The pain will come and go. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But when you're honest with yourself and gentle with yourself, your mind stops spinning slowly. And you begin to be able to see the whole situation more clearly. When you can take yourself and your feelings outside of the situation and just see it for what it is, their side, your side, all of it, without the filters. Because there's always going to be their truth, your truth, and what actually happened. But if you're able to be completely honest with yourself, you'll stop needing someone else to confirm what happened. You'll already know. Because your brain begins to stop filtering and rewriting the story to protect you. It starts taking things at face value. It is what it is. That's when your truth starts looking a lot closer to what actually happened. And even on the days when the questions creep back in, did I? Was I? You can look back and say, yes, I did. I was. This moment will pass. And you don't need them to come back and apologize for anything. You don't need them to acknowledge the pain or the hurt that they caused you. All you need is you, knowing you tried your best, and loving yourself regardless of what happened. And now, you, the one who held the silence. I see you, and I mean it. Fear that lives inside you long enough can stop feeling like fear and start feeling like fact. When you grow up never feeling safe, never feeling chosen, never feeling like who you are was worth showing, your mind builds walls. And those walls, they don't come down easy just because somebody says, I love you. Sometimes love is the scariest thing of all when you've never been able to trust it. I understand that shame can get so deep and so old that you stop recognizing it as shame. It just starts Feel like survival. And sometimes you're not even fully aware you're lying. You've been on autopilot so long that the deception starts to feel normal. I get that. I do. I genuinely do. Now, that being said, that doesn't erase that at some point you did know. Maybe not everything. Maybe you didn't have a name for it yet. But you knew enough to stop mid-thought before telling your partner something and go, maybe I shouldn't say that. You knew enough to leave certain parts out, to hide it, to smooth it over. If you cannot go home and tell your partner your day without editing something out, you either need to stop doing those things or stop being in that relationship. If you are too broken to be fully open with somebody, there is no shame in that. The kindest thing you can do is not drag someone else in it with you. Be single. Do the work. Figure yourself out. Just don't take somebody down with you while you're getting there. I will hold space for you and your process, even when it costs me something. But I will not hold space for a lie. Lies always come with a cost. Some protect someone for a moment, but deception that goes on long enough erodes trust and does lasting damage. Why are you lying anyway? You're an adult. Who are you lying to? Yourself? Other people? Why? You did what you did. I don't even need to know the details to know that's true. And I promise you, you did what you did because you wanted to. On some level, you wanted to. You made a choice. Maybe it felt like the only choice available. Maybe you were stuck between two terrible options and you picked the one that hurt them instead of you. I get that. Choices are rarely free, though. And a choice was still made. And the person standing next to you is still living in it. And now that you're on the other side of it, don't just walk off into your new life like, they'll figure it out. Go back. Acknowledge it. Tell them they didn't deserve what you put them through. Tell them you know what you took from them. Hell, maybe tell them what they gave you, whether that be the ability to grow, to accept who you are, to finally have the courage to step into your true self. Tell them that not everything they endured because you were too scared in the moment had gone in vain. And tell them you work every day to do better, to be better, to live honestly, so you never do that to another person again. Only so long as that is your actual truth. If it's not, if you're not actually doing the work, please don't go back to them and lie to them about that too. Just fucking stay gone. Because their pain is real. What you put them through was real. They never got a choice in any of it. You got to make the choice. They never did. If you're going to rebuild your life, don't leave them carrying all of your debt by themselves. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. Most of you will listen to this episode and immediately think of somebody else. That's our natural protective instinct. Externalize. Look outward. Point out what somebody else did. But if you're really being honest with yourself, somewhere in the back of your head, deep down, you might also be thinking about a time when you were the silence. That's the part you need to listen to. Go inside yourself. Acknowledge it. Sit with it. Even though it's uncomfortable. Because that's the point. And once you've sat with it, accept it. I did this. It doesn't make me a bad person, but I did this. And I should do something to make it right. Because your intention lived inside you. The impact lived inside them. And those two things often don't match. So wherever you sit in this story, ask yourself, who might still be carrying something that came from you? And what are you going to do about it? I'm too lazy for a fancy outro. Go do the work.